Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't watch it anymore because I gave the score of the game. Jesus Christ. No, that's that's not one hell of a birthday gift. Yeah, I put it up there. I shouldn't do it right now, but I'll do it. We already had somebody in there. No, she was. They're coming in now. Joey's here. What's his name? It's the Aussie guy we know. He wants to do another interview about his religion. Yeah, Guy Lane. Yeah. You know. It'll get weird, but you know, he's been pushing for it. If you want to do it next week, we can do it. If he's going to be able to find a time. Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is The Body We Stand, Saturday, the 27th at 9 p.m. We're exactly on time. And you are too if you're here. So thank you. This is The Body We Stand. We are on YouTube and on Facebook. We are not monetized. We only hope that you become a member of our Facebook group page and that you will subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Please like if you like what you see, and if you hit the bell, then you'll be notified of any upcoming videos or any videos in progress. Well, it's that time. You know, I've been kind of upset watching the news all week. So I think it'll be my turn to turn to, no pun intended, to turn to my good friend, journalist, writer, retired teacher, just about everything.
And celebrating
David Price.
celebrating our 51st anniversary.
Oh,
tonight.
really?
Gina, yep.
Wonderful. Wow, and it's just Judy's birthday recently, so this is kind of like a double thing.
Yeah. So that's kind of nice.
Well,
So,
I'm sure you took her out to dinner. Well, you did take her to dinner to the Mexican restaurant, right?
Well, one year I really did all out, and I gave her the choice between McDonald's and Burger King. She chose Burger King, so we're still living on that. No, actually, we went out last night with friends for the celebration because we have the show tonight. I can't eat real heavy. I got to be ready for the show.
Right. You know, Dave, I usually lead off the show with what bothers me, and you know, I think it's about time we ask David Price at the beginning of the show what's bothering him. So, Dave, what the hell is bothering you this week?
Well, you know, you look around the world, and you know, some things we don't mention maybe as much as we should. You know, I mean, certainly you have the climate crisis. I had to kind of smile this week. Not everything is attributed to the climate crisis, but we went from like a chill factor of -10 to yesterday it was 78 degrees.
I heard, yeah, it was 80 degrees at Dulles. 80 degrees.
We were 78 degrees here at National.
And that's like 21 degrees above the record.
Yeah. So we certainly have that. But, you know, we have some friends.
Right there, Dave, that's phenomenal.
Some friends of the
phenomenally
show.
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, friends of the show, Sandy and her Environmental Coffee House, they do a great job for anybody who's interested and, you know, worried about the environment. We all should be. Sometimes it gets overwhelming. We could do our little parts. You've got still going on, of course, you've got Russia and the Ukraine, which is always a volatile situation. You've got the one that I believe will most impact our election, Palestine, Gaza, Yemen, Israel, and that whatever that is in the Mideast. I mean, the numbers are staggering in terms of, you know, the relocation. One death is too many. And certainly, in Divided We Stand, we look at the divisions, and there appears to be, again, a relatively strong division between those who think we should support Israel and those who think we should support the Palestinians. And, maybe a handful are trying to look at how do you balance it out. But I think hands down, the biggest crisis facing us now, and you're getting the word civil war thrown around in that. And we're not here to, what should I say, fan the flames or whatever. But I think, we need to turn our eyes south to the crisis at the border. Right now, as we speak, a couple things are going on down there. You have Governor Greg Abbott of Texas with his National Guard, ordering the National Guard to pretty much defy an order from the Supreme Court, which basically said that the razor wire that the Texas National Guard is putting up on the border, the U.S. Border Patrol, which is a federal agency, can take down. Abbott is still continuing to put it up. Again, let's be clear, the Supreme Court did not say that he had to stop, but the idea is stop it, right? I mean, that's the idea. If they can take it down, he really wants to push it. Now, what you have 25 states, and just I think just out of point of reference tonight, let's name them. Okay, let me get my list up here. Just had it. All right. So joining Texas is Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, Virginia, my home state now, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Do you know what they share in common, those 25 states, with Texas?
Well, they support Donald Trump.
True, and why would they do that?
Because...
Very simply, Brian, those 25 states have Republican governors. And the governors have joined. The only governor not sign on to the statement, saying we support Texas and Governor Abbott, was Vermont, where their governor, Phil Scott, did not sign. So you have 26 states who are saying to Texas, go and do your thing. Now, here's where the problem comes in. Let's assume for a moment that the National Guard continues putting up that razor wire, right? Which Governor Abbott has authorized them to do. And he will not stop. Then the U.S. Border Patrol, which the Supreme Court has said it's okay for them to take it down, they go take it down. Well, both sides have guns. Now, what happens? There's a large group of Democrats who want Governor Biden to federalize the Texas National Guard, which would mean then they'd be under the president's control, not the governor's. Now, we don't have to go into a great history lesson, but basically the idea of the National Guard is there to handle state disputes so that you have to use U.S. troops in America. You're not supposed to do that. So that's one problem that's developing down there. The other problem, Trev, I see lowest education results. You could, pretty much so.
You could argue that.
That they would be those. No, I mean, those states would definitely be, down there. A couple exceptions, maybe Virginia, simply because Northern Virginia, it's highly educated, but the rest of Virginia is not.
The Democrats, you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, oh, gee, it's pretty much falls, with conservatives, Republicans, MAGA, evangelicals, people who think January 6th was a group of patriots, they all fall in the same category. The other thing that really troubles me tonight, though, too, And again, these are just reports. And, we say every show, be cautious of what you see, be cautious of what you hear. There's so much deliberate misinformation out there, or just people pass things around, without vetting them, without ascertaining if they're true. But there are reports that up to, now this is, I'm just saying what is out there, 700,000 truckers from Canada and America driving to the border to take matters into their own hands. Now, I don't think you're going to get 700,000 truckers, but what's too many? What happens when they get down there and they're ordered to move? There are photos coming out tonight of trucks, farm vehicle type trucks down there that are lining the border. And the basic message that's going through this is the idea that, Biden is not doing his job and America is in danger of being overrun. So if Biden, the federal government, won't do its job or his job, we will, and we'll go down there and do it. And vigilante justice is never necessarily a good thing. It's
especially when they're religious kooks.
It's rare in American history when you look at that. So you could make an argument, and I think it could be a very strong argument, and it's only getting worse, that America is the most divided it's been. It's never been united. That's a fallacy. But is definitely the most divided it's been since the time of the Civil War. And the reason I would think some of this division is even worse, although we're not at war yet, doesn't mean we won't be, but is the fact of all the modern things like 24/7 news cycle, the fact of social media, etc. So I guess what bothers me the most this week, as I look at it, would be the border, immigration. You also have both Donald Trump and RFK siding with the Republican side. And basically, Trump has said, don't help, don't solve it, don't do anything about it, because, of course, it benefits him in his run to return to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Well, this in itself, Dave, is a clear indicator of the problem we have with the Republican Party. As far as I'm concerned, the last 8 years or so, or maybe longer, when you say, okay, they're not going to have a deal. And that's the title of this video tonight, folks. But it seems to be, this is what they say. No deal whatsoever. We either bring the whole thing down or we get everything. I mean, that's, and they're even giving them everything. They're giving them a closed border. And they're not even going to take it, which shows you where these people really are. And that's why I say we may have to take some very difficult measures aside from just making sure we go out and vote in November. But there may be a time when something has to be done.
Well, what possibilities are you looking at, Brian? What do you see as possibles in this?
Well,
go ahead.
Let me use an analogy.
Okay.
And I'll ask you a question. I'll make it.
Sure.
I'll play Socrates here. Okay. You were in high school. You remember a lot of things that happened while you were at Bridgeton, and you heard the cliches about bullies. How do you handle a bully?
Punch him in the nose.
Right. And you get them quick. But you can't let it continue. And either they're going to cannibalize each other, which is the best thing that could possibly happen. I mean, you could see maybe we win the election, they try to take it away, and then we get it somehow. Then they really hate the fact that we're in power. They think they can't take over again. So then they say, okay, now we're going to do it by the sword. Okay. That's when it's like these judges that are so weak that threaten Trump. Well, just do it. So you're obviously leading the idea, well, how far would you go, Brian, with doing that?
Right, and that's
Right.
what and that's would would it warrant taking up arms? Which certainly the other side wants to do
Well,
and has done.
we could win if there was an all-out civil war. You've always said they have the guns, but the president has the anthrax. Okay, and
Yeah, I mean, it's just yeah.
I mean that's. I'm just saying though. I'm not saying
No, right.
okay, and
No.
please out. But they couldn't even touch the trigger at that point. So I'm saying the Russia has those kind of things. I'm not saying use those things. I'm just saying if it gets to the point where this thing becomes violent and dangerous, you have to get the bully, and you're going to have to. I don't know what the choice would be, but it's not going to be the judge simply saying, "If you do this again," it's like a teacher saying, "You do it one more time." It's worthless. I mean, I don't know. I know it sounds bellicose. It's very threatening, but there are times when you have to take draconian measures if something draconian is going to happen to you. Am I wrong?
No, I think, but of course, um, you're dealing with a lot of ignorance too. Um, in terms of, and I put myself in this category. I mean, I don't know how bad the border situation. Hey, Bella, I know. Keep that up because I want to comment on that in a minute. Keep Jeff's comment up, but the idea. Is it like thousands and thousands and thousands of people a day coming across the border? Who's coming across the border? Why can't, I mean, we don't really have facilities, I guess, to handle the people in terms of that. There's money involved. People forget that. There's tons of money to be made through drugs. There are tunnels throughout where the cartels can literally drive underground, and
or they can fly in legally with the green card.
They fly, right? And so, and the other thing is, I mean, we have to protect. We should let everybody in our country who should be in our country. Okay. The question becomes, how do you determine who should be here? And if I were a Mexican family, once upon a time it was about jobs and opportunity. Now I think it's just about fear. Those cartels are brutal,
Right.
And I wouldn't want to raise a family in the face of that.
Is there a point though? I'm talking about a mathematical point. If too many people keep coming, let's just say a large number of people come every day. We're talking 15, 20,000. Is it there's some saturation point that you say this has nothing to do with legalize or illegalize this or that? You cannot handle the numbers.
But I don't know how you close what is it? 2,600. What is the border? I mean, it's
well,
fantastic.
You can visualize it just if you think of Mexico, but there's of course a large desert there. But it's large border.
Would you? I mean, what do you do? Do you? First of all, a wall is ridiculous. Okay,
that is ridiculous. That they go under, they go over.
You go over, under, or through. Remember when they put it up and
Right.
they actually Trump's wall, a little part. Yeah, they were just tearing it down. So I suppose that if you were really going to do it, I guess you'd have to have, border guard every 1 foot. I don't know.
Well, no, I think it's so much more simpler than that. No, you can't stop them, and I mean, I know what you're saying, but there are some simple things that can be done. You don't have a Social Security card, you don't work. You have to have some type of ID that we know.
But see, that's where it gets tricky, because I would submit to you that there are probably more illegal aliens working in the Republican states.
Absolutely,
states,
and there's the hypocrisy.
And Donald Trump himself. I've said it before, but I think it bears repeating. I mean, we're not going to convince anybody who loves Donald Trump to leave Donald Trump. They're in his bosom. They're fine. They're happy. They're fine. But I mean, I just think you keep saying the stories. I mean, as I said, I walked past at least 30 times, maybe 50, somewhere between 30 and 50 times. I walked past what is now the Waldorf Astoria, but then was Trump International Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington as it was undergoing the change to the Trump Hotel. I never once saw any Anglo workers. They were all Hispanic, right. Latino, Chicano. But so, of course, because, you get away with things.
And you know damn well the Republicans actually want these people here. They never see them in their lives. They don't go to the grocery store that you and I go to.
Right.
And they have to have people do their lawns because they're too lazy to do it themselves.
Yeah. But I remember there was a teacher in Bridgeton High School when I was there. And she was from South Dakota. And she said that, at this point, now remember, this is 20 years ago, that South Dakotans felt that the Native Americans were taking over South Dakota, right? They were the minority, not the Mexicans. Mm-hmm. She wasn't saying that. She was just saying she wasn't supporting that. But she said, "Was?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I just tell them Native Americans had the land before we did. So, who's taking over what?" And also with Texas, you have the myth. Everything's bigger than Texas. That's one of the myths. The other is the Alamo. Your buddy Ted Cruz, whom you admire greatly, especially for his mutton chops on his face, came out this week.
The beard that covers his weird chin.
Yeah, but came out with a takeoff on what was kind of a flag from Texas during the time of the Alamo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was talking to friends last night, and they were extremely liberal. We were the other group of us. And, Mark said, one of the gentlemen said, I've never been threatened by a Spanish person. I've never been robbed by a Spanish, he doesn't, I just think it comes back to fear and racism, and they're not taking jobs from Americans. I remember the black students that when I taught in Bridgeton, they call Mays are taking our jobs. I said, "Oh, you're going to go out and pick fruit. You're going to go out and wash dishes." Now let's see what Gary's got to say, and then we're going to go back to Jeff. Okay, Gary says things are looking much better for Biden on many fronts. I do tend to agree with Gary, with one caveat. It still appears to be hard for Biden to get his message across. You look at the facts. The economy's up, and yet people are still saying
he doesn't have a voice that projects in the first place.
Well, that's true. Put that back.
That hurts him.
Put Gary's back up there.
Sure.
It's going to be up to the Democratic electorate to make it happen. The numbers there are worrying. Biden's support amongst blacks is down 20%. Yes. Now, it's impossible for me to understand how a black American could support Donald Trump at all. See, for me, which is unfortunately, I'm not voting for Joe Biden because I'm in the Joe Biden fan club. I think overall he's done a decent job given what he can do. I'm in that no way Jose Donald Trump. So I can't think of anyone I would vote for who could run that I would vote for Donald Trump over. I can't. Maybe Mitch McConnell, but even now, I know even there, Donald Trump is unique in that respect,
right?
So, and you see a lot of, I don't know if you've been following, a lot of columnists say, "Oh, it's such a shame. We need to vote for somebody." No, this is not that time. You need to stop Donald Trump. You need to stop the MAGA. You need to stop the Christian right. You need to stop a lot of. You need to
judges.
You need to stop the Southerners who believe
or appointed
the civil. Well, see again, the appointments of federal judges, are for life. It's not just the Supreme Court,
right,
Brian. You knew that.
I know. I understand that.
So every the trucker convoy thing a few years ago, I was in the front of PAC when they stopped traffic to let them through. I never left up middle finger like for that long. Yeah. Good job, Jeff. I'm smiling because I was talking earlier about when Trump had his hotel, and Pennsylvania Avenue, of course, is a big place for Washington, D.C. protests. Most of them, if they can get the permit, end up there because Freedom Plaza is where they start often. And that's right near the White House. And then they march down from there to the Capitol. But, when you would stop, people would stop their march right there, hold up their middle fingers by the thousands, and walk by. Now, global, as his name implies, looks at it from a kind of a worldwide perspective, and much of the unrest in Latin America, Central America, and indeed Mexico was caused by us, in terms of sending weapons there, of support.
And honestly, Dave, who the hell would want to live there right now? I mean, it's getting hotter there. The governments are just corrupt.
And that's another thing. In fact,
no safety, no personal safety.
I like even that. You can't use a personal story to project worldwide, but sometimes they are that. I don't know if you remember, Brian. I think you were there then, years ago. This goes back, sugar. At least I've been out of teaching 13 years, probably 7 years, about 20 years ago. Okay. There was in the city of Bridgeton, there was a report, and it was believed to be true, that there was a building on Laurel Street where bombs were being constructed.
I don't think I remember that.
You might not have been there. I don't even remember. But anyway, and the authorities thought it was somewhat credible. So they started an evacuation of getting people out of that area before they would do the raid to the place. And the Bridgeton High School, where you teach now, where I taught then, was a evacuation zone.
Right.
And so they would bring them up there. And a group of us would walk. We did our exercising after school. We were walking and working out. And so all of us volunteered to stay there and help. And the majority of people being brought in were Mexicans. And a couple of people were shocked. They didn't bring bottles for their baby. What they brought were their documentation, if they had it, because that was what was important. So these were documented. Now they're certainly undocumented there too. But my point is, what people like Trump, they don't distinguish, right? They don't distinguish. They're all bad. Mexican rapists.
Right.
Well, no, Donald. I would probably say that Donald Trump himself has raped as many women as anybody who wasn't a Mexican serial rapist. And there you are, global. I mean, I'm not a big fan of capitalism because I think it does lead to greed, and greed leads to power, and power leads to abuse and all that. But I don't know, Brian. I mean, we're gonna have to keep an eye on this, and I hope that minds smarter than me, and there are millions of them out there, can come up with some answer. What my concern is two things. If the answer isn't there, it hurts the Democratic candidate, who is at this point going to be Joe Biden, barring something unforeseen. But secondly, it also gives the Republicans an opportunity to sabotage any plans to fix it, and
right.
And they won't fix it. Do we really want to become a nation of concentration camps? That's a real question. I mean, Donald Trump has already said we're putting up camps. I mean, that's no surprise.
Right. Well, these people, Dave, have a type of ambition which it disgusts me. It's the type of ambition that says I'll do anything to get ahead, and I'll put my foot on the neck of the next person to do it. And I think you see this happening with how all of these politicians who were in support of Ukraine in the Republican Party now are willing to back off, say hands off, and we'll do what Trump wants. And that to me shows you just how low they go and what ambition means to them. What ambition means to them is different than what you and I think of ambition. Well, and I think that's a real danger. These are evil, horribly evil people.
And, you really, I try to tell people, you really don't want to live in a theocracy. A number of them want a theocracy. No. And you
that
really
like
don't. You don't really want to do that. But, if that's all, but it isn't all this week. I still continue to have some concerns about the impact of technology on our lives, but also on the 2024 election. And one person that I was focusing on this week was, who was the world's richest man, Elon Musk. Now, as everyone knows by now, Musk gained total control of Twitter and changed the name to X. I think that was a dumb move. I mean, Twitter and Tweet. Tweet was,
it was a brand. Everybody recognized.
It was a brand, but of course, Musk didn't, want to be beholden to that. And he comes in. So why am I worried about Musk? Well, first of all, he has done away with all the safeguards, and there weren't that many on there. And he said that we will run anything about elections, because he says that if you ban something about the election, truth or falsehood, he feels that is election interference. Well, no, Elon, no. And he also is clearly going to be a cheerleader for Donald Trump. I mean, that's clear. He's already said vote Republican. He's had some run-ins with the Democrats. So you have this. Once upon a time, it was Facebook, then Twitter, and then some other things. With the younger generation, it was TikTok. And let's talk about TikTok for a minute, okay? Right. So TikTok, it comes out of where? Do you know?
China, as far as I know.
Yes, China. Now, that doesn't mean, again, that there are some concerns that there may be built into TikTok some, Chinese kinds of things that would allow spying or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just there. So it comes out in 2018. And in 2020, the last election, adults said, poll and survey said, came down to about 3% of their people got news from TikTok. They just finished a survey in 2023, and that's up to 14%. Now, what's the problem with that is, TikTok is driven by influencers, which I get the idea, but I'm not going to I just don't get why people, I like Dolly Parton a lot. I like her as a person. I like her as an entertainer. I'm not going to follow Dolly Parton. What she says goes. I think Taylor Swift is extremely talented. I mean, I took my granddaughter to see her in concert, and she is a very talented individual. But I'm not going to follow her. And these are even lesser. These are the influencers, but they're out there, and so you've got young people who aren't really gravitating to Biden, right? Because they feel that Biden's let them down on climate control. They feel that Biden's let them down on the border. They feel that Biden has let them down in a number of other areas, right? With his idea of...
And without the understanding that Biden isn't negotiating with himself. He has other people he has to negotiate
with. Well, I think, and the longer I stay in Washington, D.C., the more I see, and it may be a good thing, the less power the president really has.
Unless you're Donald Trump, because then you're going to try to get it all.
Well, even there. Now, again, it's a different time if he wins. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. But even there, his power was limited. He didn't.
That's true.
He couldn't do but so much. And so that idea of now the other thing we talked about, and we're not tonight because we said a lot about it: artificial intelligence, deep fakes. Speaking of Taylor Swift, I don't know if you followed this week. There were a whole bunch of deep fake pictures of her nudes, and they're getting better. It's harder to detect them. But have you seen, Brian, my favorite new video, the God Made Trump video? Have you seen that?
I've seen pieces of it, Dave. I posted something where Lincoln Project brought that up. Right. Help us.
Okay. So this is another aspect of where we're going to be battling technology. Okay. Remember when they said, there used to be a saying, and I'm paraphrasing here loosely, don't believe what you hear, believe what you see.
Correct.
Well, those days are kind of gone now. I mean, now it's, wow.
Right, now because you can't even believe what you see.
Right. But anyway, I'll just highlight some of this. Basically, the video was made by a group who makes videos for MAGA concerns. So they're not part of the Trump campaign, but of course, and the first person to send it out was Donald Trump on his social media platform. I'll just give a couple quotes or two or three that come from the video that capture, I think, what it was. The video starts this way, with pictures, of course, too. And on June 14th, 1946, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God gave us Trump. Really? Now, that embellishes or solidifies the idea, which many evangelicals have, that God controls everything. But if you don't believe that, well, then you're a bad person. Okay, right. So what they've done now with this video, and it's been talked about before, but now it's kind of punting Trump not as a Masonic figure, Messiah-like, and they said he's here to fight the Marxists and call out the fake news for their lies, which are sharp as a serpent's. Now, of course, serpent from biblical, that idea of the devil. But I think my favorite quote from this, is Donald Trump has arms strong enough to rustle the deep state, and yet gentle enough to deliver his grandchild. Donald Trump midwife? What the hell is that? I sometimes, I've said all my life, I don't really care what you believe in. I really don't, as long as you don't try to force your beliefs on others. And I still say with that, but I do question if you're going to be godlike or make Christian kind of things, and then not act that way. Your message is shit. So I'm calling these people out for a piece of shit that they got out there. But it's not just them. This week, Mike Johnson, your favorite minority leader, and I think people need to think about this. Who the hell knows who Mike Johnson is? He's number 3 to be president.
Right.
If something happens to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Mike Johnson from Louisiana, who nobody's ever heard of before, who's extreme right-wing, would be president of the United States. So the reporters tried to pin him down, and they asked him, he said, well, would you say that Biden's president? Was that God's will? He said, I know you're trying to trap me. I know you're trying to trap me. I know you're trying to.
I want to let you know. I think what Trev's talking about is that on Discord, I guess there's the Environmental Coffee House channel there. He had to defend us, I guess, and we appreciate that.
Oh, why? They didn't like us? I mean, hell,
I don't know.
like that.
I don't know what happened.
No. Anyway, but back to Mr. Johnson. So it was just, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to. He says, yeah, of course. Nothing happens if God doesn't want it to. But I think I'm hoping for a change in 2024, and then went on, So, as if that weren't enough to worry about. It is going to be Donald Trump, okay? There's no question.
You think there's any chance that anything that could happen that might propel Nikki Haley to become the nominee?
No, nothing. Absolutely. I mean, short of
death,
correct, or incarceration. And again, we've pointed out that you can still continue to run even if you're imprisoned. It's happened 3 times in American history. So no, I mean, I think now what a lot of Republicans who aren't supporting Trump, or at least would like to see somebody else, they hope Miss Haley stays in, just to tweak him from now, because she's beginning now, she's beginning to attack him a little bit more, And of course, Trump. You don't have to attack Trump. You just have to disagree with him.
Yeah, Sandy would not trash us. We know that, Trev.
No.
There's just some people on the left who see us as.
And I can understand that. I mean, I really can. I could. The only thing I would ask is hate us, but still vote for Joe Biden,
right?
Or whoever. I don't care about that. Like I said, I can't.
I mean, really, Dave, isn't it just a matter of mentality of pragmatism versus idealism with some people?
I think so. But there's a point. Idealism is wonderful. You should strive for it. You should work toward it. But there is, I think, a point when you have to become realistic and pragmatic. And again, I will say this: you may vote for whomever you want, but if you vote for Robert Kennedy Jr., Cornel West, Jill Stein, or any, which we haven't really dealt with yet, no labels, which is threatening by March, we'll know whether they're going to actually put forward a candidate or not, and I think they will. You're casting a vote for Donald Trump,
and your life will be significantly worse.
Yeah, well, unless you don't believe your life will be worse, see, and Trump supporters.
Well, see, this was the problem we had, Dave, when we spoke with, I guess what was his name, Anthony,
your friend,
not Anthony Davis, but the one
Antonio Reed.
Antonio, right? Jeez, I'm forgetting everybody. Yeah, with Antonio, and we really couldn't get to. We had an amiable conversation, but we just couldn't work it through with his type of thinking, because he believes that you might as well just let the whole thing go down, let it get trashed, and they have a better chance of building it up. Now, I would, to some degree, agree if you're talking about the Republicans cannibalizing each other, but to simply give them everything, history would show, and it has shown, like, look at Genghis Khan, and the type of authoritarianism that has remained in the wake of Genghis Khan in Russia and in China, you don't get it back.
I think,
or it takes.
I think most people, me being one of them, really didn't. I really didn't see democracy dying as quickly as it may. We're one vote away. November 2024 can well be, and I think not can. You can't say will be because we don't know what will happen, but can well be a determiner of if we remain a democratic nation with a democracy, with a republic, or we become something else. The other thing, changing gears a little bit, of course, with Trump appearing to be nobody's stopping. Now a lot of the focus this week, after New Hampshire kind of solidified his coronation, he's going to get for vice president. So I'm going to give you, there are 5 female names circulating. And we don't know there's going to be a female. But these, I know that a lot of these are your secret fantasies. So let's look at who's out there. You've got Elise Stefanik.
Stefanik.
She was once, interesting enough, a kind of a anti-Trumper who moved into his corner, and her star is coming up because it was her questions that she believes, and there's, it was certainly involved in getting the presidents of Harvard and University of Pennsylvania out.
Right. But just in general, Stefanik, look, she's nuts, but she is a mirror image of everybody in that party who just all of a sudden follows along, whether they were against him or not. And, I don't know the specific reason, aside from the ambition thing I've been talking about, or the fact that they're afraid of their own constituents. It was like an explosion that they hadn't counted on. And they saw what happened to Lindsey Graham at the airport. And they're intimidated, which makes me think that we could fight them if we intimidate them, but they have to be more afraid of us.
But in general, well, we'll come back to that. Another female name being prominently tossed around is, I know she's one of your personal favorites, Sarah Huckabee
Oh,
Sanders.
she's even worse than Stefanik. And Stefanik's horrible.
Well, I think we're kind of going down the list that way.
Smoky eye or whatever they called her.
It's just, yeah. And of course, we know that, and she's also, I mean, yes, she comes from a political family.
I'd say so.
Yes, she is the governor right now, which I have no idea how that happened. But yeah, her name recognition, etc. Then you've got Kristi Noem, the governor, South Dakota. I would if Trump does what he often does and sides with
he'll choose the attractive ones.
Well, I'm saying Christie's probably up there. Then you've got Carrie Lake, the right-wing TV host who has unsuccessfully run for a couple things. And then your midnight fantasy girl for real, the one and only Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, I suppose the only good thing about that list, and who knows what Trump will do, because he likes to surprise and is Lauren Boebert is not on that list. Maybe that's the only good thing.
But what's her age? Is she 35?
Oh, no, Lauren. Well, yeah, but Lauren does things when you're watching Beetlejuice, the musical. She's very touchy-feely apparently in those kinds of things. But she's gonna be hard pressed. Well, not now because she changed her district. Now she has more of a chance of being reelected.
Well, if it's based on looks, I suppose that Trump will either choose Boebert or Noem.
Yeah, I would, support Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she might.
I would say Noem. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Now, of course, in other times, but I don't see this happening. And two other names that people, but I think this is old time political thinking: Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. I would be shocked if it were Ron DeSantis, and I would be surprised if it were Nikki Haley.
Yes.
And the more that of course, I said it is, just like, there's only 4 years difference in age between Biden and Trump, 77 and 81.
I thought you were going to say like 81 and 4.
But no. But the idea of it is, there's a good chance if you're vice president that you might get there earlier with Trump. I'm talking because we're really talking about. Yeah,
he's right.
Well, you don't risk it. And two examples. One example of that is is a gentleman whose name is being thrown right now, but I don't quite see it. I understand what the name would be thrown. Is Tim Scott. Tim Scott drops out of the race, endorses Trump, and actually gushes over him. Mm-hmm. But can you see Donald Trump? Can you see Donald Trump naming a black vice president? No. I can't.
Won't happen.
I can't. And somebody who's has been a strong Trump supporter, not initially, but drank the Kool-Aid, came around. J.D. Vance, the author of Hillbilly Senator. Well, none of those names are good. People are not good for America, but that's going to, we're going to see what happens, right? Now, again this week, I guess some good news in some ways. Donald Trump is going to lose $83 million.
He's going to have to put it up as in bond, or at least 10%. So at least $8 million. He's got to put that up.
Right. But again, he does not have to do that until he doesn't have to pay the $83 million until all his appeals are exhausted.
And that goes on forever, of course. The same thing that Bannon's been. And by the way, Dave, this Bannon shit just keeps going on and on and on. He's been on appeal forever. When the hell are they going to do something?
I don't think if you were this, conspiracy. No, it's the courts just move slowly, and I'm not taking their side.
Well, they seem to move pretty quickly when Trump needs them, but Peter Navarro, he's going to go on forever too.
Well, because they don't think it's. It's not. there's a lot of ways to delay. I mean, I covered a lot of
Well,
trials
yeah, and then that
as a
means they
reporter.
win. If you and I do something, we're screwed.
Uh, you know, and something kind of away from politics, but it made me think politically. Um, I've always liked, as a guilty pleasure, professional wrestling. I've always liked it because it's absurd, right? But it's funny, and sometimes it actually, you can follow a lot about America by looking at
Yeah,
it,
right.
right?
By the characters they have.
Yeah, and different things, and who goes and who doesn't. And I can remember my son was really into it, and we used to go to professional wrestling matches from time to time. And I would get well, I always loved disputing the people who believed that it was real. It's never been real. It's always been scripted. It's just like reality TV. Reality TV isn't reality TV. It's scripted. But it used to be fun, and I'm sure the way that people follow Trump now, who also does have ties with the WWE. He was on a couple of shows, was at a WrestleMania, did some hair
Right.
cutting, etc. Well,
And his wife,
yes,
worked for Trump. McMahon's
she was a
wife,
Republican. She was a Republican.
Cindy
in the-
McMahon. Oh,
Yeah,
another winner.
right. But anyway, so Vince, who's a year older, Vince McMahon, who's really was the one who in the 1980s consolidated WWE into this worldwide kind of thing. He's a year older than Trump. He's 78. And he had to resign this week from the board of the parent company. And why do you think he had to resign? Well, like Trump, like Epstein,
He grabs him.
well, yeah. So he was accused, and I'm going to go old school and not name the name, not just to protect it. They don't anymore, and you could name it, but I don't care. Let's call her Miss X, of a worker, not a wrestler, but with the WWE, for sexual assault and sex trafficking.
Now that's
So I-
interesting. Trafficking it.
Yeah. Now so I said, wait, because with Epstein and it's just related to that, and so I was looking into it, just kind of checking it out, and where the sex trafficking comes up is they did some non-consensual group work, I guess, with this woman, a couple of his other guys, and etc. And but as you go further into the story, it gets interesting because she signed an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, in exchange for $3 million. But in a very Donald Trump-like move, Vince McMahon only paid her $1 million. And so now she's real-fied of the charges. Now, just because someone's charged, again, innocent until proven guilty. But the WWE has admitted over the past 16 years, Vince McMahon, Donald Trump's buddy, has spent $14.6 million to women who accused him of sexual misconduct. 14. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, right, Brian? Do you have 14.6 million to pay women that
That's
you've...
a lot of NDAs because these people usually would do something for $100,000 and that's it.
Well, we saw what Stormy got from Trump, and so
Right.
yeah, so some of them were professional wrestlers, women. But now think about this. In the other news-related news, and this is where you get Trump, and you get the insanity, and you get the money, and I it's just a terrible mix. Netflix, right? Just this past week, paid the WWE, or will pay the WWE $5 billion. That's billion with a B, over 10 years.
Yes, my rate's
To-
going up this month.
to show. I guess it would be one of the flagships of WWE, a show called Raw. $5 billion. And my point is that there was a time, I think, when normal people, whatever normal is, they kind of realized wrestling was fake, and you could like it, but and just these boundaries have blurred, whether you're talking politics or this, and I think when it comes down, one of the great arguments was American writers F. Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway. Fitzgerald was kind of in love with the rich, and Hemingway said, the rich are just like you and me, and Fitzgerald kind of said, no, they have more money. Now, certainly not every wealthy person is bad. Certainly not. I said today, Dolly Parton and Taylor Swift, just mentioning two people who I think, are extremely wealthy, who share their wealth in good ways. But, you have this group, I don't mean they're a joint group, who, the numbers are just staggering. Now, so will Donald Trump ever pay the $83 million? We don't know, because he'll appeal it and appeal.
Well, if history shows us anything, he won't.
And another reason,
if he even has it.
Now, this will be challenged in the courts, but I don't know what the finding will be. If Trump is convicted of anything, and he does win the presidency, he can pardon himself.
He will.
It'll be challenged again in the courts, but it will be there. So Gary said earlier, and I agree with that, that there's more, there's some more good news for Biden out there. The United Auto Workers, endorsed him. That may help him in
the economic news is good.
It is good, basically. Although again, people still say, well, I spend all this money on gas. Well, yeah, okay. Everything goes up. We were talking last night, group I was with, talking about going to the grocery store and trying to get out of the grocery store with under $100. But, that's just go back and look at 1910, it didn't cost that. But, it's the modern age. You said Netflix is going up. That probably will. They got $5 billion they got to recoup.
Right. And it's not, they're not going to be paying for it. You and I are.
Yeah. And we'll see tomorrow, right? Taylor Swift is supposed to be in Baltimore, where the Baltimore Ravens will be playing the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, as everybody in the world now knows, Taylor Swift is dating Jason Kelce, a tight end for the Chiefs. But she'll be the focus, and people get upset. On one hand, they criticize people for being a celebrity, and the other hand, they worship them. It all depends on what celebrity you want to criticize. Taylor Swift is undergoing a lot of anger from the right because they claim that she's formed this group working in concert with the Pentagon. We talked about it the other show. Right. Pentagon and Biden. No, she's trying to register voters. It's a nonpartisan voting site. It's just vote if you're young.
And they don't like that because
they realize that the more people allowed to vote, the less chance they have of winning.
And young people.
Yeah, and that's going to be a thing too. So I was going to challenge, and this is a challenge for all our viewers, and maybe they can think about it because I don't really have the answer yet. How do you get young people who are idealistic and who feel that Biden hasn't done it for them to understand that if Biden hasn't done it for you, wait till you see what Trump has planned?
Well, maybe Taylor Swift has to do a TikTok video like that.
Well, I think she may. Speaking of which, I'm going to close with this. Hold on a minute, I got to find it here. Put it aside. It's in my iPod here. I am going to go to Elon Musk's X. I still check it out from time to time.
Hey, Trucker John just stepped in. Hey, Trucker.
Hey. Okay. Let's see if you can name this. You ready? I'm going to give you the quote, and then you see if you can tell me who named it or who said this.
Sure.
Okay. And when you just said sure, you were very close. I thought you were naming it before I did. I thought you were clairvoyant.
That's a clue.
I think.
Is it Diana Shore?
Yeah, I think. No, I'm positive that you are the most unattractive man I've ever met in my entire life. In the short time we have been together, you have demonstrated every loathsome characteristic of the male personality and even discovered a few new ones. You are physically repulsive, intellectually retarded. You're morally reprehensible, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell. You're not even interesting enough to make me sick. You won't guess it in a billion years.
It's a female, correct?
Yes, it is a female. Yes,
Okay.
and it's an entertainer, not a political figure. Although, as we said tonight, they kind of blend all together now. You know.
Is it? Well, just say this last question. My last
Yeah.
free question. Is this somebody like more related to my generation where I would know the name, or is this one of these new people?
No. It's somebody you would definitely know.
Somebody I would definitely know. Make me sick. You stink. I don't know. Susan Sarandon. I don't know.
No, that would be Cher.
Cher. Mm.
Yeah, but the problem becomes is that's true. Everything she said is true. Okay, it is true. It is an opinion, but it's true. But that works because automatically it's dismissed by Trump's people, right? As that's the Hollywood elites, and there's some, there's some just really horrible, Now here's one of the responses, and this is where we are when I talk about why social media is bad. One of the responses to Cher, you have no room to talk. You are just as hideous and a disqualifying and vile person who and all your cult cult friends who are all pedophiles, perverts, rapists, and murderers. You name it. Just because you have fortune and fame and money, you think you are gods, but you are not. You're evil and corrupt. And there we have it, okay? Who's right, Cher or the Trump MAGA person who replied to her? And tonight, January 27th, 2024, I'm going to go with Cher's version of Donald Trump as the more accurate.
Right. And I'm not even a Cher fan, but I'll vote for her over Trump anyway. Yeah, I would believe her over Trump.
It looks like, Brian, by the clock on my wall, that we're there. Yeah, there you go. Well, actually, Susan Sarandon is really political. I mean, she is leftist. I mean, she really is out there. Right. She would be one of the ones that are there. And I don't know what Sigourney Weaver's positive. No. Yes, Cher did have that Joey. And again, my point, is whether it's Cher or the WWE, we are Living Color, not the TV show, but the group had probably their biggest song was one called Cult of Personality. And Brian, we're living in a time of the cult of personality. And I think politics is too serious to be ruled by the cult of personality. But that's where we is, and that's where I'm afraid we're going to be, maybe for a long, long time. And whether we'll get to a civil war in Texas, I don't know, but I urge everybody to keep an eye on that situation, and we'll go with it.
And also, Dave, I want to mention to the audience out here that there is a possibility. I don't know when exactly, but there is a possibility that Guy Lane will visit us one day.
Always interesting. Always interesting to have Guy on the show.
Guy has started his own religion, Vitae or whatever. But he's talked about that with us before. That doesn't mean Guy believes in God, but he has felt important to have like an Earth Gaia religion. So he asked that he come on again. And, I think we would oblige him, and perhaps we'll see him soon. Don't know when, but we will post. So anyway, Dave,
Signing off
Thank
from
you so much.
3
And
metro
thank you,
stops from
everybody.
Washington, D.C.
All right.
Have a good
From
week,
80
people.
degree Washington on a Friday.
No, it's not 80 degrees now.
Not
It
today,
was,
but
47.
look, it's enough to scare the shit out of me when you get those kind of temperatures. When I think the high for this or yesterday's date in DC was 59, and we hit 80 on Friday at Dulles Airport. That's
But
frightening.
you
And
can still, but if you're a Republican senator, you can still bring a snowball into the Senate.
yeah, you could certainly do that, and that would be enough to convince the other side. And I think, I mean, this is another story. If I were doing like an ECA show or something like that, what I would be talking about is India, because that seems to be the one country that has dealt with the incredible changes in temperatures with a large population. How can they deal with that? And I think when we get to May, because already, like you say, that temperature of 80, that's something you would see in June in DC. But we'll see what happens in India this year, and it won't be pretty. And when Modi starts complaining, and maybe when the rest of the world starts getting serious, there'll be so much pressure. I don't know, because you're not going to get it from Russia. Yeah, we'll see what happens, Dave. But it's a serious thing. So who knows? Maybe you'll get a snowstorm, or maybe you'll, get some high heat again. So thank you, everybody. Dave, you got a lot of people thanking you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the one thing that I would always encourage people who watch the show, because they can respond in real time, is I think of all of it, I think I'm the most interesting. To me, the most interesting are their comments. In the terms of not feedback on what we're saying for validation, but we have some very, very, very committed, concerned world citizens.
Yeah, with serious comments.
And I think I think that's good. And I would compared to what I go on Truth Social or well, even X now to a certain extent, watch. It's just name calling, and we try to avoid that. So we just appreciate people.
And this is a wonderful thing, actually, having a small channel, because we're able to do this. We are able to interact, not just the audience. So it's a great thing. So anyway, Dave.
All right, Brian, I'm going to leave you to fantasize tonight whether you want Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert. I know that's I know who I'm going with,
but you could have put like Hedy Lamarr in there or something. But no, they had to be Republicans.
What do you? Well, that's who you like. All right, Brian, out of here.
All right. До свидания.